our entertainment reporter, has been telling us that we've had a string of great movies recently, and it looks like this week is much the same. Jim Ferguson, in his jeans, is covering two of them today.
Thank you, Tina. You noticed.
You look so nice in your jeans there, Jim Ferguson.
Oh, thank you, Tina. And you look very, as always, very, very beautiful.
What are we covering first?
Well,
so many movies.
We're just being swamped. So many movies.
Yeah.
Rules don't apply. It's Warren Beatty's new movie, where he directs and he stars as Howard Hughes. He does a great job. I think he could get a nomination for directing.
Okay.
Not acting. And the movie's not an award-type movie, but it's very entertaining. Also starring is Annette Bening, his wife, in the movie. It's Howard Hughes, and it's all I'll say, in Hollywood. It's his time when he was making movies and dating a lot of actresses. And Warren becomes Howard Hughes, believe me. Here is Warren Beatty. You know, I mentioned that I lived in Tucson, and many years ago, in the late 40s, early 50s, when Tucson was just a little cow town, Mr. Hughes came there and built the Hughes plant, the aircraft plant, which is now Raytheon, and was partly responsible, I think, for the growth of that area.
Mm-hmm. Interesting guy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Would you agree with me, Warren, that Howard Hughes was a man that did not have rules?
He had his own set of rules, I would say.
Yeah,
he didn't deal with other people's rules. You know, he was, he
followed his own rules. Huh?
He kind of got his own way, which is not always the best thing for somebody.
Mm-hmm. Another, do you agree? The reason this film is so good, Rules Don't Apply, because the supporting cast is incredible to begin with, and it is loaded with humor.
Thank you. Well, I always found all the stories that I heard about Howard Hughes when I came out here to Hollywood to be funny. And people would tell these stories, and I wouldn't know if they were actually true or not, but I assume that some of them, you never know about, I mean, history in general could be said to be, you know, fiction, but the stories that I was told about Howard Hughes, I sort of added up to something that I thought would be the good basis for a setting to tell what I felt like telling about the Hollywood that I came to.
In the 1950s.
1958, 59. And to deal with the whole subject of that which made us the laughingstock of France and Germany and certain other countries with our American sexual Puritanism, which began to ameliorate when, with the advent of the feminism of the late 50s and the early 60s, and created what we call now the sexual revolution of the 1960s. But it's, I think, a big subject.
Jim, before we move on to the next movie, what do you rate this one?
I would give it at least a B.
A B?
C plus B.
Oh, okay.
It's entertaining. It's much better than Ken just said, The Aviator.
Aviator, yeah.
And you walk out thinking, boy, what a great job of directing.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, we're going to talk about a movie that's getting lots of Oscar buzz.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time, but Joel Edgerton and the young lady, what's her name? Ruth Negga.
Yeah.
Ruth Negga. They're fantastic. Based on a true story, mixed marriage, 1950, goes to the Supreme Court. I won't give the ending away, but what a great job of acting and a beautiful story. Here is Joel and Ruth. You know, we know a lot about the decision, which was a very important civil rights decision in the early 1960s, but we knew very little about the Loving family. This film, I think, takes care of that. Would you agree?
Yeah, and part of the reason you don't know much about the couple is, you know, although there was a documentary made about them, I think what they wished for was that no one really knew about them.
Yeah.
Not because they weren't proud of their love for each other, but they just weren't public people. And Ruth pointed out yesterday that one of the great things about this movie is hopefully this puts their names and their story in people's minds and in their mouths. Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah, the documentary was wonderful, but this film is going to be seen by a lot more people.
Yeah, I mean, they were very, very shy people. And I think they didn't want to become just... I didn't think they wanted their relationship to become sort of scrutinized for any reason. And I think that's why I think they were sort of reticent about, you know, doing follow-up interviews, and you know, Mildred stayed pretty much quite reclusive after, especially after Richard
Well, they were
died.
country people.
Yeah.
And I could relate to that, my family being Southern Illinois farmers moving to Chicago. My mom always, let's go back to the country, you know, and of course that comes out in the film too.
Yeah, the land, you know, Jeff speaks this very articulately, that particularly I think for Mildred, the sense of land and family was so important, and that tapestry of that landscape and what it meant to them in their soul was so important that while you could say, well, it's not so bad, they only had to go and live in DC, they should have had the right to live as anybody else wherever they wanted, but to be connected to place is so important.
Friday, Natalie Portman is Jackie, and Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea. Two good movies.
Friday we'll have to see. To watch more of Jim's celebrity interviews and movie reviews, visit TucsonMorningBlend.com and search for Hollywood Happenings.